What's up, my Makokos, Gaming Pros, and Bonk Bros? Defender here, and welcome to another video. Today I want to talk to you about preparing for the two new classes that we're going to be getting at the end of this year. And if you didn't already know, in November we're going to be getting the Reaper class, and then in December we're going to be getting the Summoner class, right? And these are two highly anticipated classes that we're waiting for in the advanced class catalog, if you will, of all the characters that we can play. And there is a lot to unpack when we're preparing for them, right? So we haven't got a lot of time before the new Belshazzar raid is coming. So if that's something that you're looking to gear up for, we want to make sure that we make use of the time we have before these releases to the best of our ability and get prepared. Stick with me in the video, and we're going to go through everything we can do to prepare for both the Reaper and the Summoner class, whichever one you might want to play, and we'll make sure that we can get you in these raids on day one when they come out. Alright, so off the bat, the most important thing you can do for your character is to make one in a slot, okay? So design your character in the character creation tool and choose the main class that you want to play. So I've got the mage here, which is what will advance into a summoner, okay? And then you just make the class and then you want to start the game. And then you want to head into Trixion, which is the introduction tutorial of the game. And this is the process you want to do for any new character you want to play. Because it allows us to build up rest bonus. So we're just going to skip all of the content, and then the idea here is that we're just going to go up to Beatrice, okay, and she's going to get us to choose between the available classes at the moment, practice them, and then finalize a decision. Obviously we can't choose the Summoner or the Reaper right now, but what we can do is go through the tutorial of any of the other ones, and then when we select that one, we're just going to back out into the character creation screen again. And what that does is it recognizes that this character has been created and that it's in the world, and it starts to accrue rested bonus. Obviously we want to do at least 5 days of rested bonus for the characters so that they have 100% rest bonus on the Chaos dungeons and the Guardians. And it's a fantastic way for someone that is playing catch up to get as much materials as possible. Okay, so we're just going to quickly end this, and we're going to say we're going to choose this class, and then we're just going to go straight back out to okay, we're not going to select one here, we're just going to back out to the character select screen, and that's that. Done. Okay, so that character is now collecting rested bonus for Chaoses and Guardians. And then when the Summoner is released, you would load up this character, you would go into Trixion, and here would be a fourth option for the Summoner. That's simple. Same again for Reaper as well. Okay, we've got a lot to cover today for the preparation, but first of all I want to start with Strongholds. Strongholds, if you're not doing them already, they are extremely valuable, not just for horizontal content, but for vertical. And that is because of the honing buffs and the reduced costs, etc. That you need to get done. So you want to get through all of this extra honing buffing that you can do to your account, and that is just so that when you are leveling up your Summoner or Reaper, everything is increased to the highest level possible, so that you're succeeding more often and you're paying less as well. So it's a win-win across the board. We also had a worldwide buffing to 1415 recently, so that also is huge and works in our favor as well. So that is a win-win. So make sure you get your Stronghold honing buffs done, okay? And the second thing in the Strongholds I want to talk about is the fusion materials. Okay, so fusion materials, you are going to need a plethora of these, either a Reaper or Summoner. I'll show you the numbers at the end using a max roll calculator for all the different eye levels you might aim for, so you can choose, but you're going to need a lot of these. Okay, so make sure that you're crafting these, because buying them can set you back a lot of money, especially if everyone is needing these and the demand rises, the cost is also going to increase. So make sure that you're crafting these and stocking up on them in your vault, and then when you need to start leveling up your character, you have plenty of these stocked up and ready. Okay, now the next thing to talk about is the Ark Pass. The Ark Pass is a huge opportunity to stockpile a lot of materials for honing and resources and currencies. Okay, so if you haven't already, start saving all of these and put them in your vault for either Reaper or Summoner if you're planning on taking those into the raid content. Now the value of the Ark Pass is phenomenal. The premium section, in my opinion, is absolutely worth the money if you're willing to spend money. Super premium is just cosmetic. I haven't gone for that myself, but if you're into that, that's fine. I have a video on this covering the costs and the values, and the best options to choose down the line, so make sure you check that video out as well if you haven't already, and it just lets you know the most efficient way to select your rewards so you're not missing out. But essentially, make sure you're choosing the honing stuff for one of the new characters, and what you want to do then is just put them in your vault and hold on to them for the release down the line, and then when it's released, you have all these materials saved up for the character that you want. Okay, so the next one we want to talk about is the Bloodstones, and that is the guild currency, if you will. So that's something you accrue every week when you play, doing GVX, GVG, GVE events, donating silver to the guild, participating in the weekly challenges, etc. And the best option for this is to go and buy the crystallized stones. Okay, so destruction and the guardian stones. Make sure that you're buying out all of these on every character every week up until the release, and you can stockpile those in your shared vault because they're not even roster bound, they're unbound, they're tradable, and you can stockpile all of those. Okay, and also make sure that when you make this new character, you're getting it into a guild as soon as possible. You start earning some bloodstones, you start doing the weekly challenges so that you can then yourself get the honor shards from the vendor, and also a chance at the tickets for boss rushes and cubes, as they have a chance to give you. So talking about legendary engravings, we're talking about the leap stones, and we're talking about gems. Very, very important stuff to save up. Okay, so make sure that once you make the character and they're launched and released, you get them straight into a guild so they can start earning up bloodstones immediately. And the next one to talk about then is the Tea and Libra ship, or the pirate coin exchange. And this one is extremely valuable because we are getting a lot of coins given to us every week from chests that we can then convert into pirate coins. So you don't necessarily need to do horizontal content, but you can also do the events every day in the sailing challenges, and you can get yourself some materials. And here, basically, what we want to do is we just want to buy out all of the crystallized destruction guardian stones. You can just stockpile all of these every week across multiple characters. So I've got six main characters and then a couple of alts, and we can just buy these up on every single character. And then when the character comes out as well, I would recommend making sure that we buy some honor shard pouches from this vendor as well, because that is going to be one of the most important currencies, materials that you're going to need on the Reaper or the Summoner when you're leveling it up. Okay, and this one might not apply to everybody, but if you're aiming to push your Summoner or your Reaper into raid content endgame, then you're probably already raiding on another character, and in that case, the Mayhem marks here on the Legion raid exchange is extremely, extremely valuable. You want to make sure you're doing your Kakul Seidan every week, even if it's in the rehearsal mode, and stockpiling these Mayhem marks, okay? And they're fantastic value because mostly the honor shards, which I believe is the most valuable currency you're going to need on your new character, it's extremely expensive on the market. You'd have to run some rifts to stockpile them yourself, and there's only so much you can get every day from your rotation of your dailies and weeklies. So this one here is fantastic because it's 75,000 honor shards, which is enough to push you quite high in your eye level, but you also have a lot of the honing materials here as well. So make sure that as you're playing, you're saving up your Mayhem marks, you're not using them on an ult that doesn't necessarily need them, or your main that's already high enough. You're waiting and holding them on for the release of the class that you want to level up. You've also got some silver in here, which is extremely important, and we've got some honing books to help us with increased chances. So extremely, extremely valuable vendor here. Make sure you're hoarding up on your Mayhem marks so that when you're ready for the character's release, you have access to all of this, okay? Okay, so this one's been around for a little while now, so you probably already used it all, but if you haven't, then the Blood Magic Stone Exchange in South Vern is extremely, extremely valuable, has access to a lot of honing materials for both the regular and the hard mode clears. So if you haven't used all this yet already, make sure that you're doing your weeklies on the Blood Magic. You're going into the Rift and you're accruing this currency. You can do it twice a week, I believe, with the entrance tickets that you get, and you can work towards buying off all of these honing materials. Okay, there's access to a lot of them, which is enough to push up a character significantly. So make sure you're not sleeping on this and you're getting in there and getting those ready. We have, potentially somewhere between 2 and 6 weeks before Reaper, and then you add in another 3 to 4 weeks on top of that for Summoner. So yeah, plenty of time to start stockpiling currencies for these as well. So make sure you're getting onto that one if you're not already. Okay, and this next one you might have forgotten as well, similar to the Southburn Magick one, is the Anguished Isle one. And now this one actually has some fantastic stuff if you haven't done it at all. You get a bunch of engraving books, and also you're going to get some honor leap stones if you haven't done it already. And these are per character, so if you have maybe 5 or 6 characters, you can go and get these honor leap stones and stockpile them up and put them in your vault. Also, obviously, you have a couple of class engravings which are extremely valuable if you haven't done it on your characters yet, because you can stockpile those again for your new class and work towards maxing out your engraving. So make sure if you haven't done this yet that you go and do this, because we have plenty of time still to farm these, okay, and get it all bought up. Okay, and this next one is currently in a bit of a limbo because we don't have a new season yet, but the PvP vendor, the Proving Grounds, is a fantastic way to get some excess currency into materials. Now, I used to use this all the time on my Destroyer to help catch him up, and now he is ready for Belshazzar, so it's definitely something I recommend. When the new season starts, which I believe is in a week from now or 2 weeks from now, you're going to be able to earn yourself some courage coins from being in the matches. And you can go in based on your rank and buy up some of this currency. There's honing mats for pretty much everything you need in tier 3, and even down below that if you need. But I would suggest you start saving up courage coins. Maybe you even have some left at the moment from the previous season. Make sure that you grab these honor pouches on the class that you play when it comes out, okay? Don't buy them beforehand because they aren't roster, they are character. Okay, let's talk about the events, right? So we get events quite often. At the moment, there's a Guardian event that's going, and it has a lot of potential to grab a bunch of goodies, but also to grab some honing materials. Now, these things are bound, unfortunately, so they won't be much use to you on a new character. But some of the things you can do is just to make sure you get like the instant completes and the bonus ones, and those can be used to use extra dailies on the new character when they're done. But also I want to talk about the engravings. So there's a lot of engraving options in here, so make sure you're getting these, holding on to them, because right now engraving books can be quite expensive, and these are class ones. And then when the new class comes out, you have enough to push up your engraving book to +9, for example, or +6, and you can wear a couple of them, and so that you're running a level 3 on your class engraving that you're choosing. And as we still have some weeks left before the release, the next one I want to talk about are the challenges every week. So at the moment, we have challenges you can do for Guardians and Abyssal Dungeons. So there's 3 Guardian challenges and 2 Abyssal Dungeons, and they give you a large array of rewards. So you get a lot of materials, you get some engravings, you get some sages, and then you get a chance at some engravings as well. And these are fantastic because they are account bound. You can put them in your shared storage space and use them on your new character. Okay, so that is what I recommend you should do, is make sure you run them on your current main, and then you're saving all this up, putting it in your vault for your new one, so that when they come out, you have these things ready, engraving books, etc., to give to them immediately. And the same holds true for the dungeons as well. So you can see here the dungeons, you're going to get some bonus stuff as you run those as well. So make sure you're doing those every week and holding on to the loot. And then the next one I want to talk about is the Chaos Rifts. So if you're doing these every day, you're getting these rift piece currencies built up over time, and every map you get, has the potential to give you some unbound tradable materials such as the shard pouches and engraving books, etc., that you can save up for a character or you can sell on the market. My suggestion would be to save these up because they're very expensive to buy at the moment on the market. So everything you can get towards saving these is preferable. And they also have a chance to give you some legendary engraving books, which is fantastic. And so what you can do is you can take these rift pieces that you're getting from these rifts every couple of days. I think there's 3 every week, and you just go and you buy these, and you have a chance at getting a map of varying quality. Okay, and then you just run those maps. You're going to get a bunch of unbound materials, and then you just stockpile those in your vault. Like I said, you do get some shard pouches, which are extremely valuable, and so I would recommend doing the tier 3 ones. Now this one is one that people used to use a lot. I think it's become less favorable over time, but it is still just as good as ever, and that is the infinite Chaos Dungeon grind. Now, if you're like me, I used to do this all the time to help my destroyer catch up. Any spare time I had in between raids and dailies and playing with friends, I would just kind of put a movie on or put a TV show on and just go into the Chaos Dungeon and maybe spend half an hour just doing some runs. And this currency that you're going to gather can be spent on some amazing honing materials. Okay, the cost does increase the more you buy, but we can start to save up now with all the weeks in advance and look to buy something like honor shards or just your basic honing materials, okay? And also, as we're doing that, we're earning a second currency, which can be used to buy accessories with random rolls. This hasn't netted me anything incredible yet, because they are bound to you as well, so they're not resellable. But there is the potential to get something of value from doing these. So it's just a free kind of thrown in bonus to try and get something from this when you're doing it for the materials. So just bear that in mind, that if you have any spare time, this can be used efficiently to start farming the currencies for these, okay? Okay, so let's talk about gearing up, because there are some things you can do to prepare your character with gear, literally, before they come out. And first of all, I would say know your class, know the build it needs, know the engravings you need, and the stats that you need, for example. And then what you can do is you can go into the auction house, you can search for those pieces of gear, okay, and obviously, the only thing you can't find is your class engraving for the new ones. But what you want to do is you want to buy those accessories that you're planned for already. And then you can store them in your personal storage for that character. And then when your new character is leveled up, you can transfer them for the cost of Fions. Now, that is something to consider, because you will have to eventually pay double Fion costs overall, but it is a way to snag those accessories now for that class before they increase in demand and in price. And then you can have all of your relic accessories or legendary accessories fully kitted for that class before you play it. Something to consider as well is that you can use a website like this one here I'll show you as an example to help you plan the accessories and how you want to build your class, for example. Okay, so you can look on the auction house, see what you find, and put the numbers in to try and build the best thing you can, and then you can kind of focus on everything but the stone and the engravings, and make sure you get those bought up before your character is released. And another thing you can do when we're talking about gear is something that a lot of people that play multiple of the same class do, is sharing gems, right? So you can actually get some gems ready now on another character, for example. Take all these gems off, and then you could technically put them in your shared vault space, for example, and just re-roll them with silver cost down the line on the new character. And that way you haven't got to worry about leveling up gems from scratch and not having the character ready, essentially doing a lot less damage and having affected cooldowns. So these things you can transfer, and then you can just re-roll them with the refaceting tool on the new character. And some extra things I want to talk about that I feel are important that some people might have not considered. Firstly, I want to talk about the skill potions. So if you haven't already, make sure that you have all of your skill potion points, and these things you can obviously go into the codex and see where they come from, and it'll tell you how to obtain them. These are extremely valuable. A lot of them will require horizontal content, but they're going to give your character the most amount of combat skill points you can have, which is really important when you're trying to get level 12 skills, for example, on a build, or just make sure that you have level 10 across the board on all of your skills. So yeah, make sure you go and do those. The same holds true for some runes as well. So there's a lot of runes in the game, and a lot of them are actually tied behind horizontal content. You know, something like Purify or an extra focus rune. These kind of things, you have to go and do the horizontal content or grind the daily content to get them to drop, or as a reward from collecting. So make sure that you know the runes that your class needs, and you're going to go and farm those beforehand so that you have them ready when the class comes out. And I mentioned this briefly already before, but make sure you get into a guild as quick as possible with your new class. If you're in one already on a main, maybe you have a static group that you raid with, communicate with them to see which ones they're going to be playing if they're playing a new one, and then you can rotate between your characters to kind of bust each other in content without having to pay to get bust in the new raids. Like we saw before when the new classes came out, Argos prices rose considerably because the demand was so high to get burst, just because people didn't want to gear up in Legendary to then instantly go and change into Relic. So just consider that prices for those kind of busing services may rise quite a bit, and so if you have friends that you can play with, or statics or guilds, you can take advantage of that and just take turns with your main character at the moment busing the new one. Okay, let's get into the cost then, because I want to talk about the cost of leveling up the character lastly, because this is going to be the most important thing. It's the reason we're preparing all this these materials and accessories, engravings, etc., is so we can get our character leveled up and get them into the raids as soon as possible. Now, the cost is quite considerable, and there's 3 currencies I want you to focus on, because these 3 are going to be the most costly part of leveling up your character, and these are honor shards, silver, and gold. Now you might think that's obvious, you're stockpiling gold and silver, you'll be fine. But I'll show you the calculations for each of the eye level benchmarks that you're going to go through and how much they cost. And honor shards are something you really need to look out for, because they are going to be astronomical. And the cost of buying more is very expensive. So everything we're using in the video to make sure we're getting them without having to pay market fees is preferable, okay? And we're always going to be choosing honor shards over everything else first. Okay, and at this point in the video, I'm just going to put up the cost of each of the honings. So 1370 I'll put up first, and then you can just you can pause the video and see the costs that you need to get to 1370 from 1302. And then I'll do the same again for 1415, so you can see the most efficient way in terms of the most efficient upgrade path with higher items in some and lower in others. And then I'll do the same again with 1430, and then 1445, 1460, 1475, and I'll even show some Belshazzar ones, so 1490, and I believe 1510 is the recommended to stop at to get the most out of Belshazzar in the first week if you did the first couple of gates. Okay, so I'll put those costs up. Just pause the screen, take a note of what you need, and those are the worst case scenario costs, so which is what I would always recommend to go off of, the worst case, so that you know that is the absolute maximum you would need. If you failed all the time, you went to pity, you weren't using anything to help you hone all the time because it's too costly, and those would be what those costs accrue in total to get you to those levels. Okay, so just take a note of those, and then you know what you need. That is it. I mean, I've covered everything I wanted to talk about today in the video. Make sure you get on top of prepping now, because we're counting down until these classes release. We don't know the dates exactly of when they're going to come out, but I can expect Reaper to come out sometime in the second half, towards the end of November. So that would mean we have from now, so approximately kind of 3 to 5 weeks at most before Reaper comes out, and then another 3 to 4 weeks on top of that before Summoner comes out. Maybe Reaper will be slightly earlier because Summoner, is going to be so close to Reaper in terms of the overall release date, so bear that in mind. The sooner you start, the more you can stockpile, the more you can find accessories if you're double dipping on the accessories for that class, and you can just get as prepared as possible for the content. Okay, you can look up the class, know what they need, get the engraving slots ready, go farm every week on the exchange vendors if you haven't started doing those, and start stockpiling all of the currencies you need, because you're going to need a lot. Okay, and we want to make sure we get these characters into the raids as fast as possible. So make sure you use all those tips I've given you today, and I hope you guys get ready in time. I myself am going to play one of these 2. I won't say which one yet because I haven't decided, but I'm looking forward to trying one of them. Yeah, let me know in the comments down below which one you're going to play. Are you excited for these releases, or maybe you just want an alt to try something different? Yeah, let me know in the comments down below. And as always, thank you so much for all your support. Hope you guys have a fantastic weekend, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.